We're live.
We are live indeed. Welcome, everybody, to Feature Fiction Reviews. I am Luke, and today is the inaugural episode of my Interstellar Exchange series. The sub-series is Creators Collective, where I invite on other booktubers and bloggers and content creators to do with anything such fiction and fantasy. And today, there's only one man I wanted for my inaugural episode, and that is Chris from Fictional Escapist. How are you doing, man?
It's such a flatterer, Luke. I'm good. I'm good. It's 6 p.m. here in Perth. I've got the Christmas mug out. We've hit December, therefore it is time. It's good. It's good. Thank you for having me on for
No problem.
the pinnacle, the number one episode
Yeah,
of the new
exactly. Christmas
series.
mug, eh? Christmas. Oh, yeah. I mean, we've got our advent calendars now, but I mean, I work in retail, so I've been experiencing Christmas since about August.
I work in
So
international freight. I feel you, my man.
yeah,
It has been a time in the
it has.
last couple of weeks. Usually mid-October, right? It'll pick
Yeah,
up and then goes right through.
yeah. I've learned to compartmentalize Christmas now that I work in retail, so I just forget it exists until December, and then I can kind of start working my way up to a bit of excitement, mainly because I'll get some time off. That's the main
Yeah.
thing
Okay.
that I look forward to.
Can't relate.
Yeah. And the food and the drink as well. Definitely looking forward to that.
Are you an eggnog man?
Am I what, man?
An eggnog man.
Eggnog man. No. I had to think about
Yeah,
that because I've not had it for a very, very long time. No, I don't do eggnog.
I don't think I've ever had it. The concept of eggnog weirds me out, but some people that I work with, like my team, love it. And they're already talking about it. I was like, I don't understand, but
Don't you like put a raw egg in it?
I don't know. Just
Uh,
egg in drinks weirds me out.
yes, just the
Like,
concept of
just
eggs and drinks. Like, no,
stop it.
no thanks. Yeah, give me them fried, scrambled, poached, any
Anything
day of the
but
week.
literally in a drink.
But in a drink, yeah, go away.
Yeah.
It's horrible. Oh, we have Lammy is here.
Hello, we're
Hello,
just
both.
talking about
We're
your
literally just
book
talking about you. Yeah,
like
we were.
3 seconds ago. Luke gave me mad FOMO and I bought it yesterday because I can wait no longer. So I went and bought it on the UK Amazon.
Even if you don't celebrate its mince pie
Mince
and
pie and
stolen time,
stolen time.
it certainly is. It
Stolen.
certainly is.
What
I
a
have
creation.
yeah. Stolen's great. I love all the German stuff like Stollen. I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, but Labuchkin biscuits. They're like a marzipan biscuit, like a rounded top chocolate.
Oh
top.
yeah. Yeah.
They're ace. They're awesome.
We just get like shrimp on the barbie. It's so stereotypical in Australia, and I'm allergic to crustaceans, so they will kill me. So I cannot participate in the old shrimp on the barbie situation. But don't know what other national Christmas
I
foods we
think
have.
Lamia might like marzipan. I'm not sure.
I'm getting that.
Yeah. Oh dear. So how are you, Chris? I mean, we had a little chat before live, but how you doing?
I'm good. Busy, work's busy, book stuff busy. I just started a podcast. I was going to ask you how how do you do podcasts and work full time and do booktube and do it all? So I started a podcast earlier this year with a mate of mine called Genre Blender, and like we do that every fortnight. And I do not know how people keep up with everything because I read different stuff for the podcast. Yeah,
Yeah.
which
Well,
I work in, so I should be good at it.
I'm quite lucky in the fact that the podcast I do, I co-host with someone else. So half the workload is already, it's cut in half. But also we're part of like our podcast is part of a network. So marketing and advertising kind of taken off your hands a little bit. But if you are doing a podcast solo like you're doing, yeah, it's a lot of work. I can see why you're probably finding it hard to balance it.
Look, Ryan does all the work. I just turn up and talk about books. It's pretty good on my end. I have to do social media, but I forget to do social media half the time. I refuse to TikTok. I'm too old for that shit.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I don't do that. Yeah, Baz, my co-host and good friend. Yeah, he does a lot of the social media stuff, so I don't have to.
Yeah, it's a beast. Social media is a beast in itself.
It is, and the problem with social media is it's not necessarily an indicator of who's watching and who's going to watch as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's you can sometimes I do it a lot, like even with booktube, when you put your booktube link and stuff, and you'll get like 13 or 14, maybe more likes, but how many of that percentage is actually going to watch is a hard little thing to kind of play with.
I gave up on the algorithm a very long time ago. I'm now very unapologetic with what I do. I'm just doing what I like for the sake of liking it. So
Yeah.
it's fun. Yeah. What are you reading at the moment? I meant to ask this off the live, but here we are. I'm here.
What am I reading? I'm reading at the minute. I'm reading Neil Asher, Gridlinked, science fiction book. I've always wanted to dive into his Polity series. He's got like, I think there's like 15 books in it at the minute.
But some of them the name is very familiar, but I've not.
Yeah,
dabbled.
But there's sub-series in it. So this sub-series is about Agent Ian Cormack. He works for Earth Central Security, and Gridlinked basically means most people are hooked up to the AI that basically governs human beings. So it's a hot topic at the minute, AI. So I was
gonna say we could go into a whole episode on AI.
Oh, we could. But this book is like there's some concepts and stuff where I'm just going, that's kind of starting to happen now. But yeah, it's really interesting. But basically, he's been Gridlinked for 30 years, and for this particular mission that he has to do, he is unhooked from the grid. And so he's basically having to use. He's like forgotten how to be emotional. He's forgotten how to be a human being. So he has to learn like how to govern emotions. He has to learn to gather information himself rather than just going, tell me this, and the grid will download everything he needs to know. So it's an exploration of how to be human again, essentially, as well as being a really fast-paced, kick-ass sci-fi action adventure. But it's got that really nice kind of base theme to it, which I'm really enjoying at the minute.
That's such a cool thematic, learning to be human again, and just I guess humanity is a thematic in all books is something I really love to explore, and I think sci-fi does it so well, particularly when we have these elements of like robotics and AI, which is very relevant in today's age, to be able to really explore that.
Yeah, definitely. Lamia, I do wonder how you find time to do them, and whether talking about books then becomes a pressure. I mean, when I talked to Lamia, I was like, how on earth did you write your book? Because she's in a particular job that takes up a huge amount of her time.
It's not a small book either.
No, it's not. Not at all.
Luke was showing me that the physical before, so holding up, quite chunky. I did an episode on my podcast last week, I think, about how hobbies sort of fit into life, and I have a really bad habit of making my hobbies my job, and then having to find new hobbies to then have that isn't a job. And reading sort of became that for a little while, and then I don't know, I view it as a second job now, but it fills up. Like if I think about two cups, right? I've got a financial cup, work fills that cup. This cup is the needs cup, and reading and books fills up so much of that it's almost a pleasure to have that job that doesn't necessarily pay anything, but it's giving me just as much on the outset as being able to afford to live is.
Yeah, I mean, I don't call this a job, but maybe it's kind of a voluntary work in a way. But yeah, it is. It's the soul. It's the
That's
soul
right.
being
It
filled
fills
up
the
issue,
soul bank. Yeah,
exactly. Because the other one can sometimes drain it slightly. That other cup can be drained quite a lot. So this one fills it back up. Definitely, it's that balance, isn't it? It's finding that balance.
It's definitely been interesting. Starting an editing business with my wife, and then having to also balance that on the side, where it has become work for her more so than myself. I'm just sort of there. I talk to authors, but it's been very interesting balance to navigate since coming into that world.
Tell me a bit more about that then. Your editing.
So Bard and Butter, Rachel's always been very interested in literature and sort of, I guess, the deeper understanding of it. So she's a copy editor and a line editor by nature, and proofreader. She's very, very good at finding detail, like small, minuscule details within a script. And she's been interested in a while, and I said, why don't we do it? I said, I I talk to authors all the time. There is a need for this. You're doing a master's degree in it. Why don't we just give it a shot? And then, yeah, it sort of just came from there. We were driving one day and playing around with names, and Bard and Butter came up as I'm the bard and she's the one making the butter, as in bread and butter. I never shut up about books, which is why I became the bard. Like, I just don't stop talking to anyone who will listen about books in the written word. And we sort of joke that I'm the one that goes and talks to people about it, and she's a little raccoon that hides in the corner at the computer and just looks for that really small detail. I'm learning how to dev edit, so I'm hoping that we can do that as a service at some point in the future, but I'm more comfortable having a course. Yes, Lamia, Rachel does freelance. I alpha read, so we're like a reader editor relationship, which works quite well. Our skill sets are very different. Yeah, just I don't know. It came about sort of organically. She was doing the degree. She's looking at a PhD now. I'm sure that will happen in the next couple of years. She'll start that. Yeah, she just. I'm very proud of Rachel. I can talk about her for the whole time that we're here. But
That's
she
awesome.
just got invited to present her thesis to the editors board of WA, so in Perth, and she did that a couple of weeks ago. So she specifically focuses on Indian self-pub. So her thesis is all about how editing for Indian self-pub is different from traditional publishing. Yeah, it's just really cool.
That's very, very cool. And I may take up your services in the near future when I get this flipping novella written.
I was going to ask you about your novella and how it's going and what's happening with it at the moment. You've had some live stuff happening.
Yeah, it's been on hold for a couple of months because I've had some live stuff, definitely. But yeah, December is I'm carving some good amount of time out just to kind of crack on with it. But yeah, I'm one of those people that I'll write loads for a very short period of time, like a couple of days. I'll write loads, and then I won't do anything for like a week or 2 weeks, and then I'll go back to it. So I'm at about 13,000 words, I think, at the minute.
Nice.
So just under halfway of what I'm kind of planning the novella to be. It's going to be about 25,000 words, I think, ish.
Yeah. How do you feel about that planning aspect of writing? Because I also, when I was writing mine, I mean, I'm currently writing it, I went in with a word count goal, and it's so very different to what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Are you finding that your characters are just like going off in wild directions that you didn't really realize they were going to? Or how's the writing process been for you in your first whip?
Still figuring it out, to be honest. I'm still figuring out what works for me, like what environment to write in, when to write. But yeah, I did like I knew like the kind of catchment area where a novella kind of needs to be. So I was like, okay, let's kind of go for that. Let's go for that pocket of numbers. And yeah, it's definitely going in places where I wasn't expecting it to. Because of the nature of the story, it can't actually go far because it's basically the entire story is around the orbit of Earth. That's literally where it's one guy in his ship. He's got an AI pilot called Halley, who is basically his only company for that kind of period of time. But he has for a short period of time he has communications with his handler on Earth, Jessica. They get on really well, but at some point in the story, he loses communication with Earth, and then all he's got is his AI pilot, and then that goes down, and it's just himself for a short period of time. And then I'm not going to say anything else because after that is spoiler territory, so I can't go any further.
It's a very cool concept of having to learn to now be self-reliant.
Yeah, but it's a meditation on grief as well, because the character has recently lost his father. The last time they spoke was in anger and bitterness, and it's about him dealing with that and facing the grief that he doesn't want to face. So that's the story, and also it's a really cool space adventure, and lots of dangerous stuff happens.
I'm getting a theme of what you like to read.
Yeah,
and what you're writing.
Now you know cool. Why Sword of Kaigan hit me hard.
Look, Sword of Kaigan like, I don't emote very often, but that scene got me. Like, I didn't like the tear didn't shed, but we had water in the eyes, and I was like, that's pretty. For a book to do that, it takes a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, I've talked to many readers and booktubers who say I never cry at book. I never cry when I read, but Sword of Kaigan broke me.
Yeah, there's been
Yeah.
very few books. I had one recently. I read The Road before all this stuff came out about Cormac McCarthy, and I was just bawling. Like, I put the book in timeout. I was driving home. It was an hour drive home. And I just like cried the whole way. And I got in and Rach was like, "What happened to you?" It's like, just read a book. Just read a book. It's fine. I need a minute. I'll rally. It's incredible when a book can do that and bring out that emotion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, film and TV does it to me quite a lot. I mean, I wear my heart on my sleeve when I'm watching or reading, really. But yeah, there's certain films where I'm forbidden to watch them now because I just end up an absolute sopping mess on the floor.
Do we have like a wall of shame? We're like, no, don't
Yeah.
watch this movie. Absolutely not.
Rewatch not allowed because you'll be a mess.
I'm trying to think of the last movie I cried in. It's gonna be like The Lion King. Every time. Mufasa.
The Lion King is the one movie when I was younger that stayed with me because man.
Yeah. What a movie. What?
Oh Jesus! I mean, when he loses his dad in the stampede, that is just like. And I like the way. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into Disney, but old Disney, I like the way they were never afraid to. They were never afraid to investigate the death of a parent. I mean, they did it in that. They did it earlier in Bambi as well, which also I was about 5 or 6, and my older brother had to take me out of the cinema theater because I was making too much. I was just crying too loudly.
I was thinking about they didn't really shy away from exploring those themes for children, which is, not a bad thing. I also did not realize how dirty a lot of those movies were until I was much older. Like the adult jokes they put in there to entertain your parents.
I know.
It's like, I didn't pick that up.
Watching.
Yeah. I remember watching Toy Story for the first time as an adult, being like, "Wow!" I mean, that's Disney Pixar. Like, wow, you would not get away with that these days. Maybe they do. I don't watch kids' movies or Disney
I think
much
Pixar
nowadays.
has a bit more. Yeah, I think Pixar has a bit more kind of freedom to go into a bit of adult humor than Disney does. Just Disney.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've seen Moana. What am I reading? I'm Advent and Wintering at the moment. So I didn't do this last year because it hadn't arrived yet. So this is the Kickstarter edition. So I'm doing it. This light's not going to play ball with it. I'm doing a story a day, so I'm trying to read it, keep up with a short story each day. So I read Jim Wilborn's. Quite interested in now checking out his work, which I think is probably the coolest concept for me personally. Like having an advent calendar. I'm not a big chocolate fan, so I don't really like. Rachel normally eats mine as well as hers. Like she saves it to the end of the month because I forget it exists the whole month.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the concept of finding authors or authors I've been curious about that I haven't read yet, and then going, yeah, I definitely want to check out some of their works is really cool. So I've got that on the go at the moment, and I've picked up a Dennis Lehane book on the recommendation of Kay Matar and CM Kaplan or Connor. We did a live a while ago on Connor's channel, and they talked about Dennis Lehane so much that I was like, okay, fine. I will read one and see what it's all about. So I went and picked up a secondhand copy of that, another one. So it's been good. I mean, I read 200 pages in 2 days, which is quite a lot for me personally. Is it my favorite genre? No. Am I unhappy then reading it? Also no. So
cool. It's like crime thriller, isn't it?
It's crime, yeah.
Yeah.
Crime mystery. And then I've got an audiobook and then I've got an ebook. It depends. It depends on the day.
Yeah.
How many books do you read at a time?
See, I used to be one. I used to have only headspace for one book, but I am actually, because I'm reading the Neil Asher book. I've also just started The Wrong Stop by Rex Burke.
Oh yeah, I've got that too.
Yeah. I was supposed to be on one of the book tours for that, but the stuff with my mum happened, and I was like, I'm postponing this. So, but I did promise Rex that I would read the book and then put a review out. I read his Orphan Planet, which I adored. It was very funny. Some great themes going through that as well. And I'm also reading one of my favorite science fiction authors, which is Peter F. Hamilton. He doesn't write anything small. This is 1,000 plus pages. I'm reading that very slowly, so I'm just there. I started that in September, but I'm just like reading a couple of chapters here and there when I not read the current books I'm reading.
Hamilton's quite heavy sci-fi, isn't he? Like hard sci-fi.
Yeah, it's quite hard sci-fi. Yeah, definitely. But like sorry,
I was just gonna say, how do you keep it in your brain while you're doing Neil Asher as well, which is also quite heavily thematic, right? So like, two sci-fis at once, my brain would be like, nah, I can't do it.
Yeah, I've always liked, like, I think I read more sci-fi when I was younger, when I was a teenager, than I did fantasy. Even though I read Lord of the Rings when I was like 14 years old. Oh, hello, Esme. Hey,
Esme.
Say hi. How you doing, Esme? Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks for jumping in.
Thank you. Larry was like immediately feeling better about giving you a 670-ish book.
Yeah. 670 is good. It's a good size, 670.
Yeah, but Lammy is like the print of the it's like the words are very, very close together and they're quite small. So 670, but more like 900, I'd say.
Yeah. Okay. Technicality, trim size.
Yeah, technicality, whatever. What was I saying? Yeah, so I read more sci-fi when I was younger, so I think I've always just had the brain capacity, and I really like science in general. I just like reading about science. I've got lots of non-fiction science books upstairs, so I think it's just always been able to hold in my brain a bit more. But I just love and Hamilton. Yeah, he's quite hard sci-fi. I like how he's very he's got a very engineering type mind as well. So he likes describing the way things work. And stuff, which I've always kind of liked as well.
I've got my first Hamilton on the TBR for next year when I'm looking at
which one
TBR plans. The Commonwealth Saga. It's a duology.
Got
Pandora's Star
and Judas Unchained.
Okay, I'm glad you knew it because these are short distance. I'll take them off. Those are the two. So Mark Timothy, who's a very good friend of mine, has been raving about these books for a very long time. And I said I would do them this year, and I didn't. So next year they have to happen. It's a must read. He reckons go audio though, and I tend to do sci-fi better on audio. I don't know why.
I get that, yeah,
but it sticks in my head a lot better. Doing it on audio.
Oh yeah, Lammy, I think you'll really like Peter F. Hamilton.
TBR, the broken TBR feels.
Broken TBR.
It's just crushing under the weight.
Like if you could see these, I mean that's bowing a little bit, but yeah. But in terms of TBR, it's like my shelf's like that.
Yeah.
Ready to break.
The lights really hide any sort of bowing, which is you've done a good job with the lighting on the shelf there.
Yeah. Took me a while, but it's nice. But then I mean you got to take into account your ebook, and my ebook's got like
I don't even want to look at. I did a count of my unread ebooks earlier in the year, and it was something like 467.
Woo!
So many. Which is why the low buy year has come into effect. One, I'm middle class poor, and I'm trying to write a book and get the book done, which takes money. But also I think I have close to 400. So these shelves behind me are double stacked. The two chonky shelves, I would say there's about 400 on those two that I haven't read.
Apart from the hardback shelf, everything else is double stacked. Yeah. There's a load behind it.
You've got to do it. You've got to do it to get the books in. I remember moving and like, oh, do I actually own that? Have I bought that twice? I had so many of these on ebook and physical at the same time. I don't know if it's the same. You go into a bookstore and you're like, hang on, what do I own?
Okay, Chris, so you've got 400 unread on your ebook. Esme's about to top that.
Esme, hang on. Girl,
I
don't feel so bad now. Esme's doubled my unread ebooks. You read at the speed of light.
Yeah, how do you have that many on unread? Oh dear, that's crackers.
That's amazing.
Yeah, just the one word that does it. That does it.
We don't shame here. We don't TBR
No, we
shame.
don't. We do not TBR
We're
shame.
all in the same boat.
We're all one big family. We've all got a problem.
That's what I love about this community, though. Like, we all know. You don't need comments, says May. It's fine.
Yeah, that's
we
fine.
accept you.
We accept you. Yeah.
We accept the book people for who they are.
Yeah. Oh dear. Excuse me 1 second. Yeah. So
I'm getting smacked by a tea bag. We're doing well.
Yeah. Anyone who's running one, my voice is a little strange, just because A, I've just come out of the back end of a cold, and B, I went to see a gig on Saturday in London. Went to Alexandra Palace in London to see a band called Idols. Anyone who's not heard of them, they are they're brash, loud. They sing about social and political injustices. It's very kind of lefty, and yeah, I was shouting along to their songs at the top of my voice, which is why I'm a bit husky today.
What genre?
It's kind of.
It's like my brain's like pop punk.
Like it sounds punk. Like it's punk, but it's punk, but pop, but not how you fit. It's kind of like a bit of. Really, they're really hard to stick in. Like the mentality and the kind of message to get across is definitely punk. And there's a punk aspect to it. They use a bit of electronica in their music as well. I'd say pop, punk, rock, alternative kind of fits into that thing.
I'm gonna get that is the genre that I enjoy, so I'll go and give them a listen.
If you want to kind of encapsulate what they're about, there's a song called "Never Fight a Man with a Perm," which is basically a song about toxic masculinity. It's actually
good life advice.
Yeah, it is. It's regular life advice. But the songs like "Toxic Masculinity," it's about meatheads and just the kind of posturing and all that stuff, and the like preposterousness of it all. It's a very, very funny song. It's very tongue in cheek.
Well, it is. The idea of toxic masculinity in 2024 is ridiculous.
It is ridiculous, isn't it?
Like, why? Why is it still a thing?
And it's still there, isn't it? It's still there.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily at the minute, one of our worst toxic masculine people is currently residing in a Romanian jail. So thank God he's not online at the minute.
You, like, he would definitely be here.
You.
It's funny. I feel like every time something new comes out about anyone, it's like, oh man, why?
I know. We are book magpies.
That's exactly
what we are.
Yeah. This is my nest.
Yeah. This is my nest. This is how I stay.
The shelves that you can't see. I considered, so in this house, we bought a house early this year. So this is the Nook, which is just a little activity area that I've turned into a library. There's a huge hallway, and in that hallway, it's full of just cupboard space. And I was like, maybe I'll turn one of them into a bookshelf. So as you walk down the hall, you walk into like an actual library. If you think of going into a library, like a public one. Rachel told me no, but it may have to happen at some point if I continue to buy books at the rate that I do.
Right, Esme, we'll try and make that happen.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Redbubble accepts everyone. Make it happen.
Yeah, I've got 2 bookshelves out of frame here. They're full of books. Too many books.
I know that people, because I don't know if you find this as well. I actually don't know if you like secondhand books. I prefer secondhand books. I prefer ugly, beat up, mass market paperbacks. I love them. They're easy to read. You can't have them on a booktube channel.
No,
like I feel like you need the pristine. But I'm a spine breaker as well. Sorry to the audience, Esme. I know that does upset you. But most book people don't enjoy spine breaking. I'm a get it done. Make it easier to read. I have all of those books in this poor sagging shelf off camera that you can't see, and it's disgusting.
I have just discovered a lovely little secondhand book shop in Lincoln, and I went in, and I came up with 4 books for £5.50, and I'm just like
laughing.
Yeah,
amazing.
Laughing. I got Stephen Baxter, which is he's another hard sci-fi author. Yeah, it's just like there's some and some books and authors like I've never heard of, like from the 80s and 90s that are literally out of print now. So you get these little diamond little gems,
Yeah. I,
secondhand bookstores.
there's actually a lot of really good secondhand bookstores in Perth, and it was something I was missing in Brisbane. There was one. It was pretty expensive for what it was because it was there as a novelty, where they have a little bit of magic and also a little bit of like people's bodily fluids, which is kind of gross when you think about it. But like the smell that a secondhand books gives you,
Yes,
it's like it's so good. Yeah, Perth has an amazing array of secondhand bookshops.
that's
It's
awesome.
very hard to leave the house without being like, oh, I just might pop in and see what's happening in there. What new stuff have they got? Um, very pleased that we moved to this side of the country purely for secondhand book buying.
And it's great for the bank as well because you're not spending
Yeah,
you're hardly
100%.
spending any money and getting these lovely books.
Yeah.
Yeah, because on I think it was X or somewhere, but we were talking about like it's also like the history of the book, like you're reading a
Yeah.
well-read book and the people
Yeah.
before you read it and stuff. I quite like that.
I often wonder if people like, maybe it's just, thank you, Esme, I appreciate it. I accept your 1,200 unread Kindle books. I often wonder when you pick up a secondhand book, like, did someone DNF this? Did they not like it? Will I like it? Are they just like, in this day and age, is the author problematic? Like,
Yeah.
what are we going into when I'm picking up a secondhand book? But I still like prefer. The only issue with that is I try to read more indie than trad pub, so I try to keep the balance about 60% indie or self-pubbed, and by indie I include small press like Wraith
Yeah.
Marked and things like that in there as well. There's not a lot of it in, or there's hardly any in a secondhand bookstore, which is why I did that little libraries project last year. I was like, I want to get more indie books that people can pick up and love and
Mm,
rehome and do that sort of thing. Looking into what we need to do council wise to put one, in the street here,
yeah.
to open up something local. But yeah, it's hard to find an indie book, and I like donating indie books to secondhand bookstores as well, in the hopes that someone will go, "That looks really cool. I'm going to pick that up." We have I've gone off on a wild tangent in my head. Apologies, everyone.
Go,
Um,
go, go.
there is an author. I think she's contemporary romance, but she is actually opening an indie bookstore in Perth dedicated to self-pub, small press, and indie authors who write in the romance sphere. Now, I have seen a bookstore do that before, but it's now going to be like a books and bar situation where you
Okay.
can go and it's like a cocktail bar and you can go and buy self-pub romance books. Well, I think is such a cool concept. I told a friend of mine, Helen Reed Pedersen, who writes fantasy romance. I was like, "Hey, chuck your name in the pot." She's asking for authors who write romance. Like, why not? Give it a go and see if she'll stock the books. Yeah, really cool concept. Looking forward to going and hanging out. Romance isn't my thing, but I'll go and support an indie bookstore. Why not?
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a
Is
shame
that
though, but
secondhand bookstores? Yeah, that sucks.
it does suck.
To be fair, it was hard in Brisbane as well, but here it's very good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fast fashion, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it doesn't just apply to clothes. It applies to
everything.
kitchen appliances, books. We just like, you know, it is a throwaway society. It's fast fashion. Like once you've used it, you throw it away.
It does take me a lot to get rid of a book. That's why there's so many on the shelves.
Honestly,
We
Mel.
generally keep stuff 100%.
Yeah, Mel's always saying to me, Luke, you've got too many books. I said, no, I haven't. I haven't got enough bookshelves.
No, exactly. That is
Yeah.
it. Rachel and I toyed with being that couple that retires. We don't have kids, we're not planning on kids or anything like that. Like, let's go get an RV. And I was like, oh, I can't have an RV and carry 1,000 books with me, which is what is required for a library. And I have that
Yeah,
in my head. A library one day, physical library, working towards it.
absolutely. I mean, what I am doing at the minute, because I'm getting so many broken binding, I'm taking off the softback editions that I'm getting, and I think next year
Right.
I'll do an unhaul,
Yeah.
and I'll probably do some like competition or voting things to just to give them away
Yeah.
to any viewers that want to that want to have them. So I think that's kind of I think that's how you spread the love, spread the book
Yeah.
love.
We want people to keep picking up indie books.
Yeah,
We're all hawks.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I love.
Sorry.
No, there you go. You go.
I don't hoard a lot of stuff, although you can see the little nano block Lego collection slowly creeping up on that shelf behind me. It's because I like building them and then I have no idea what to do with them, so they just find their way to that shelf. But I don't I'm not sentimental at all. I don't keep a lot of things, but books. Like it's books. The collector's editions are books.
It's the same with me. I mean, I used to have over 400 DVDs of films, and I've got rid of them all now. I took half of it to charity, and then half of it I sold on one of the online things that take old DVDs and stuff. I mean, you get hardly anything for it, but at least it'll be sold onto someone else.
Isn't it crazy? I think we're sort of in a similar age range where we grew up with the VHSs moving into DVDs. DVDs was everything. You had huge collections of them, and now it's just streaming services.
Yeah.
And now streaming services are ridiculously expensive, so people are going back to pirating. I don't endorse pirating, just for the internet. But we just got another pay increase. You can't share your Disney plan, and we have Disney because we've got nieces and nephews that use it, not in this house. Like, well, why are we paying $28 a month for it if they can't even use it? So it's just interesting time to grow up in and the technological advancement.
That's very true, Esme. I do think
That's
fantasy.
true.
Yeah, I think fantasy and sci-fi is much more readable than, say, a romance or thriller, especially crime thrillers, because they usually have a mystery box element, and it's trying to find out who killed who.
Yeah,
and then once you know it, you know it.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's if you could pinpoint something in that comment, why do you think it is more rereadable?
She's going to.
Thanks for stopping by, Esme.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Esme.
Thanks for jumping in.
I'll put that one back up. I think it's probably a multi-layered answer, because I think you can pick stuff up that you missed, say, particularly with characters. I think you can maybe get a richer idea about a character's motivations or their emotions, or you might have missed something that they said. But particularly in fantasy, if you're dealing with take, for example, the Wheel of Time, where it's that you're dealing with prophecy, you know what needs to happen. Oh, so you smacked my microphone. You know what needs to happen.
We've all been there.
Yeah,
we've all smacked a mic in our time.
Yeah.
No one quote this episode.
Like, what needs to happen, and then when a character will say a line that is so important that you may have missed the first time you read it, and because you've completed that series now, and what is these little drops of Easter eggs or bits of information that you may have missed along the way, you now pick it up. So I think that's definitely something that's the readability of fantasy, particularly with big series where you can go back and gather all the clues that you might have missed or even forgotten. With the Wheel of Time. I've not finished the Wheel of Time yet. I started that series about 6 years ago, and I'm still on book 7.
I'll catch up to you, and then we can finish it at the same time. I just read book 4. But I think, you're right, it is a multi-layered answer. One, just physically, our brains can only hold so much information, and we're reading 10 books, 1,000 pages a piece. Like, we are going to miss stuff just being human. But also, I think a lot, and showing my preferences for reading. It's funny that you went to characters first. Are you a character-driven reader? Yeah, I'm not. I'm a world-driven reader, so I'm world and plot, which is why I tend to gravitate towards fantasy and sci-fi, because a lot of that is in there. And I feel there's so many intricate layers, and now writing and getting dev edits back for my own book that are hidden and are subtext within this overall overarching plot. And then going back, and I'm not a rereader. I'm recently coming to the reread as something that I should probably do to get all this information. But because there is so much that goes underneath the actual words on the page, being able to pick that up a second or a third time there's something purely magical about getting the experience to do that. But I would need to reread for that to happen.
Yeah, I'm not a big reader either, to be honest. There's too many books in the world to start rereading stuff.
Especially things like Malazan, where you have to read it twice to get the full concept of them. Those are 10 huge books, plus there's 30 other books in the series.
See, I promised myself I would not read Malazan until I have finished Wheel of Time, and I'm thinking I'm going to be about 80 years old by the time I get to Malazan at this rate. So I need to finish Wheel of Time quite quickly. Perhaps characters are closer
That's a
and
good
themes are
point.
more. Yeah, definitely.
I think we can explore a lot of humanity by taking away or by adding the element of magic and like sci-fi. Like I find sci-fi to be probably and I've read a lot of genres in my time. I sound like I'm 80, but I feel like sci-fi really hones in on thematics really well. Like out of every genre, sci-fi explores thematics in a way that I don't see happen in a lot of other genres. And if I'm picking up a sci-fi, it tends to be for that philosophical meandering, that heavy thematic that we're exploring, and underneath it all, it's so human. And I feel like fantasy does explore humanity as well, and these concepts of to the extreme where we have, for example, um, magic being a big bad, playing on personality traits that we see in every day. Or, we've got the noble bright as well on the complete opposite end of that scale. I think it's just fascinating that we can add in this element which is inherently not human to explore humanity. Maybe that was very philosophical for this time of
Yeah,
day.
I mean, I say I'm a big character driven reader, but I think I'm actually more of a thematic driven reader, and I think both fantasy and sci-fi delivers that very well. I think sci-fi has because I mean, a lot of sci-fi is based in our universe, but way in the future. It tends to deal with a lot of ecological, environmental, technological issues that we face today, and then kind of play on an idea of where that could lead to. I find that absolutely fascinating. Particularly with what I'm reading at the minute. AI is a massive issue at the minute. Neil Asher is playing with that in very, very interesting ways. Even if you're anti-AI, which I think most of us, well, anti-AI in the creative sphere, I think we are very much against that. But it also talks about tools and application where it does actually have a use, because it basically does the boring stuff that humans don't want to do, which is where it should be going, but it's not at the minute, which is the
Give me a robot that does the dishes, that isn't the dishwasher. We've already got one of them. What about the dishes that can't go in the dishwasher? Give me an AI that can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, give me an AI that can hoover for me and polish, because I don't like doing that.
I've definitely read some philosophical. I mean, I'm thinking in Malazan now that has a lot of navel gazing in it, and I think that's part of the intimidation of that particular series. But I would agree that a lot of at least what I've read, I'm sure there is fantasy out there. I've read some fantastic philosophical fantasy, just even in the indie sphere, but I pick it up more in sci-fi for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Lamia's book is very, very light on magic. In fact, I wouldn't even go as far to call it a magic system, but I think it's very philosophical in terms of its themes, that I discussed with Lamia, and also on my review. It is very much looking at the human condition and identity and where we are, but also colonialism and oppression and that kind of thing. And I think fantasy does that very well. I'm going to forget his name now, and he's going to kill me for doing it. Oh my god! Talk, Chris, talk, and I'll come back to you.
Are you thinking about James Lloyd Doolan?
Yes.
By any chance? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm just thinking
Minds
colonialism. His series is fantastic. Also, you've already sold me on Lemire's book. Like I'm there. I bought it.
Yeah.
I really like that concept being explored, because I think we're still seeing effects of it, in people's mindsets and the way that it's passed down through society, and it's effed. I don't want to swear too much on your channel, but yeah, James Lloyd Doolan's the Malatu series really made me think about the effects of colonialism. And it's probably one of my favorite indie series that is ongoing, until I read Lemire's book, because you've said it's knocked out everything else on your list for book of the year, so potentially that will also happen.
It could well do. It could well do.
Yeah. I've been
Yeah,
hearing a lot of good things about the world building, and I'm there.
oh, the world building's incredible. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm an all-rounder reader. I mean, I love character, but I love world building. I love lore. I love myth and mystery, and yeah, and Lami's books is like completely full of all that as well. Yeah, with the lovely deep themes going through it. So it's yeah, it's I love any fantasy books. And Doolin series, I was just reading it. I was like, wow, he is putting this down, and
He's
I love the
does
fact that he
not
did it.
shy away from it. He's
No,
he
not
died
at all.
right in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you read anything outside of SFF?
I do read a little bit like crime. The only crime writer I read is Michael Connolly because I love his Bosch. His Detective Bosch series is brilliant because I just love the character of Bosch. He's grumpy and sarcastic, and I get told a lot that I am grumpy and sarcastic, so I can kind of relate to him.
I relate.
Yeah, so I can relate. I can relate to the character quite well.
So I've heard the Bosch series is really good.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
My grandfather, when he was passing away, sort of the last few years of his life, he gave me the first omnibus of it because he knew I was a reader. Not a lot of other people in my family are heavy readers, but so I have the first omnibus of the first three like on the shelf, and maybe once I've read Lahane, that'll be the next crime mystery that I jump into. I don't gravitate towards it very often, but
no, I don't.
But when I do,
fantasy,
historical fantasy
not,
for sure.
No, not historical fantasy. Historical fiction is another genre I do like to dip into as well.
Yeah, okay. I've got more of that on my TBR for next year. Sorry.
That's fine.
Let me ask the question. Sci fantasy type setting.
Ooh.
I'm gonna go dystopia.
Yeah.
I know it's a subgenre of sci-fi, but I would love to see some fantasy in a dystopian world. I think indie does this really well in terms of genre blending and being able to dabble in a bunch of different things. But it's probably my favorite setting for those human elements and just the fight for humanity, the survival instincts. I mean, it's essentially what I've written into my own writing as well, and realizing that's something that's quite influential to me. But I love it so much.
Oh, she meant actual titles.
Oh,
well, I mean, I think this is
sci fantasy. I haven't read it yet. Like one of the few people on this planet.
Christopher Ruccio's Sun Eater, I would definitely say it's science fiction with a lot of fantasy. It's fantasy in the way that like the character and the worlds work. I mean, there's a lot of like gladiatorial sword fights and stuff, even though it's set in like on different worlds and in space. His prose is just amazing as well. So the Sun Eater series, Empire of Silence, is the first book. That's definitely sci fantasy. Yuval's Hand of God. Have you read that?
No, I haven't. I've been told so many times to read it. That it would be.
It's good. That has a kind of sci fantasy feel to it as well, I think.
Right. I'm going to the bookshelf. 2 seconds. Luke, you got
another
this.
Author. I haven't read her books, but I've been told many, many times that her sci fantasy books are great. Go and get a cup of tea, everyone, while we just look through our bookshelves. Lamia has brought us to a halt.
So, this is interesting because it is sci fantasy and kind of dystopian esque. Is Vevan Song by Jonathan Neves Mayers, and this was such a genre blend and such a good genre blend as well. Like queer normative world as well, very character heavy as well as the thematics. And I can't wait for more in here. But yeah, like a very unique blend of the genres, and I would recommend it. Like dystopian sci fantasy, there's magic elements in there. There's magic. It's really cool. Also, the other one so I didn't love. I think I gave it a 4-star the first book, but the second book just blew me away. And this is Light Fighters by Palm Pickering, or the Anaximides series. So book 1 we are dealing with, and my main issue was Cassidy. The ring light and the gloss covers, it hates them. I'll turn it off. No, it
Ring
didn't
lights,
work.
yeah. Ring
Ring
lights,
lights
yeah.
and gloss covers. So it's very character driven. It's very like space opera with fantasy elements in it. So we've got a little bit of magic happening with our character Cassidy. And I think because I did the first one on audio, like I think if I went back and I read this physically, I would enjoy it more. But there was a part in that, like the narrator. I think the narrator can play a really big part in enjoyment of books. So I liked the book, but the narration for the character of Cassidy may have lessened the enjoyment. But I read the second book physically, so good. Like if you like that slice of life stuff as well, where it
Yeah.
is very slow burn, but there's a lot of moving parts. So even though we were doing slice of life throughout this whole book, there were so many things moving and that were happening throughout the whole thing that it felt like it went by in a blur. And that's a 600-700 page book in itself as well.
Mm. I've got a book.
I was wondering if you're going to bring
Frontier.
this one up. I haven't read it yet, but I
Frontier by
haven't.
Grace Curtis. This is just, it's a lovely little small book as well. This is Broken Bindings, lovely, but lovely.
It's a beautiful edition.
It is a beautiful edition. But yeah, I think this is very much a genre blend. It's like and this surprising me because I usually don't go for romance, but this is like it's like a sapphic post-apocalyptic climate change themed sci fantasy book. I mean, that's a blonde of genres.
I'm in. What?
Yeah. It's a lovely, beautiful book. It's like a cozy sci fantasy book. I would recommend that to I'd recommend it to anybody who hasn't really dipped their toe into sci-fi, because it's very sci-fi light. It's like set in a future Earth, but it has very lovely little themes and two characters that are just absolutely adorable as well.
There was one, I don't have the physical edition of it, but Divinity's Twilight Rebirth, I think, is by Christopher Russell. He's about to release the third book. Now, that book starts quite slowly, the first book. The original had a 90-page prologue, and your TBR was already broken, but you asked for recommendations. With book people. We're breaking it more.
We're piling on the ruins of your TBR.
So it's just crumbling underneath the weight of the pressure of the TBR. But yeah, Christopher Russell's book, it is sci-fantasy with horror elements, and I thought they all blended together quite well. I'm really looking forward to reading the second book and seeing, how the author has grown between the two. Because I know he sent me a message on Thanksgiving saying, thanks for supporting the books. The third book's coming out. I was like, yes, I need to read that second book to be ready for the third book to come out.
Yeah. Changing the subject a little bit, I am well aware that in about 6 or 7 or 8 days, I'm probably going to be the only booktuber in existence not reading the new Brandon Sanderson book.
I won't be reading it.
Oh, that's cool. We can be in the.
We'll do another one of these. We're like, we aren't reading Sanderson. I mean, I am reading Sanderson, but it's been real hit and miss for me personally.
Me too.
This is quite an interesting topic because I feel like he's very beloved in the fantasy realm. Will we get kicked off the internet? I don't know. So I read.
We're here for controversy. That's what
we are the most controversial men on the planet. Talking about Brandon Sanderson. And hating toxic masculinity.
Yeah.
I read Mistborn, and it is in my top 10 series of all time, but I didn't enjoy Mistborn. But the reason it's in the top 10 series of all time is because that ending was just phenomenal. Like, there was so much foreshadowing that came together. It was so good. Will I tell someone it's worth reading those books to get to the ending? No.
Yeah.
There's a lot of nonsense that doesn't need to be in those books, in my opinion. At the same time, I'm really enjoying the YA sci-fi series more so than the epic fantasy series, and that shocked me. That genuinely shocked me at how much I've enjoyed it. But yeah, like I have them again. I had them on the shelves because Rachel read the first few. I don't know what the series is called, but it's not calling to me at all.
I mean, I'm one of the very few people who really enjoyed the Mistborn era 2 stuff.
I've got the first one. I don't know whether I'm going to love it because people who don't necessarily vibe with one tend to enjoy 2, right?
Yeah. Well, I like it because the books are shorter, um,
Yeah.
and which makes the story more succinct for me, because I do find, and I'm probably going to lose subs for this, but I do find, particularly in the Stormlight series, that I think Sanderson could have used with a bit of editing, because I think particularly with the Oathbringer, I think could have been shorter, because I think there's stuff in there. There's stuff in there that I kind of lost focus when I was reading, not really caring about. And then the most recent one, the name escapes me at the minute. But that, yeah, I just think he could do with a bit of editing. And his books are massive, and I don't
They're
think they
huge.
need to be that massive.
I found that in Mistborn Era 1. Look, I'll probably give it a go at some point. I have the 2 standalones in the Cosmere, is that what it's called? Warbreaker and Elantris. And I've heard from people who, like, the people who don't like it, our tastes don't really align. So I'm thinking like the ones that people don't like or aren't super popular are going to be the ones that really click for me. So I will say, as an entry point to fantasy, Sanderson is very easy to read.
Definitely.
Like, if you're looking for something easy to come into fantasy with, it's a good starting point. The series, while they have complex magic systems, it's not handholdy in a sense, but it also is very easy to comprehend as you get into the series. But I would, argue, go and read Threadlight instead, who I would, Zach Argyle is an author that I would probably say mirrors a lot of the writing style of Sanderson, in that it is very easy to comprehend story beats and whatnot, but it is better. Sorry, Sanderson fans. It just hides as I say it.
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy the Sanderson books. We're not Sanderson bashing here, but I enjoy his books. But
Luke isn't Sanderson bashing here.
I'm not sounding him bashing, but I just don't hold him in as high regard as quite a few other readers and booktubers do.
That's it, I think, and that's, I don't know. Maybe it's people feel like they have to say that the popular thing is popular, and therefore it just inherently remains popular when maybe it doesn't need to be. Like, I have books on the shelf, this little one back here, and I'm considering moving my indie shelf to this one just because it's on camera more and I read more indie. But the Wheel of Time's at the top. I've got Realm of the Elderlings down the bottom. Fitz is like one of my most hated characters on the planet. I cannot stand him. And I can't stand Rand, so I don't know why those two are on the shelf of that. Like, out of everything, Fitz and Rand could go in a battle, and if neither of them came out, I wouldn't be upset. I've just, like, it comes back to 2 subscribers.
Yeah.
I will try Robin Hobb again because the writing, I love. The prose, beautiful. And I like Slice of Life, and she excels in that. But I got to, like, the middle of book 2, and I was like, fuck Fitz. I cannot with this guy.
He is a very unlikable character.
So we'll see. And he's so dumb. Like, he just fitzes all the time. What was that one that we read? The Dragon Rise of Pern. Who was the character? Oh, mate. And it just, I can't with him.
No.
I cannot remember his name. That's been erased from memory.
Yeah. I think that book's been... I loved our discussion of it, but that book...
I can't remember anything.
Yeah. I put that in the trash can.
Yeah.
Delete.
At least with Hobb, I can remember how much I disliked one of the characters.
Yeah. Yeah. I am going to read the Fit stuff, because I do want to read the Realm of the Elderling stuff, but he's not a very likable character.
I'm thinking maybe I'll try it on audio. Normally, if a book doesn't work for me physically, I can get through it.
Yeah.
And vice versa. If it doesn't work for me on audio, it will tend to work much better for me physically. We'll see. I'll try it again. I'll get through Wheel of Time. No, I'm going to get through Malazan. So I've got the last 2 books of the 10. And then I want to go on to Wars of Light and Shadow by Jenny Wirtz. Because I love Jenny Wirtz's writing.
Yeah.
And I've read Cycle of Fire, and I've read a couple of the standalones and a short story collection. I'm ready. I needed to train myself for the dense prose, and I've got a few under my belt now, so we'll jump into that at some point, 2025.
Yeah, Jenny Wirtz. And and Lamia's book actually are that like, because in my review I said take your time with this book, like really digest it and immerse it, because the prose is just beautiful. Johnny Wirtz's prose is just gorgeous as well. And they are books you have to kind of sit down and really just take your time with it.
Yeah, it's the prose is beautiful for Jenny Wirtz, and it's dense. Like I remember reading To Ride Hell's Chasm, and that's books like I want to say 700 pages. Because in my review of that, I was like, this book felt like a 7-book series in one standalone. But you had to take your time with it. Like if you didn't, you would just miss so much. I haven't read Richard Swan's series. Is that Justice of Kings? I want to say.
Yeah, I have. It's the Empire of the Wolf. Fantastic series. Loved it. Really, really loved it. Again, light on magic or magic systems. It's got a bit of eldritch horror in elements into it, which again, I'm not horror book writer, but I love the elements that they put into this book. Brilliant.
Yeah, look, I have many. Also, like you, TBR is crumbling under the weight of the intense pressure to read more.
Yeah.
Who has the time?
Exactly. Who has the time, indeed? I mean,
feel pretty good about my reading goals until I go to Goodreads and someone's got, oh, I've read 250 books this year. I'm like, how? Where?
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
It really does, yeah.
Does he live in Australia? I'm pretty sure he does.
I think he might do, actually, yeah.
Yeah. Because he's at all the Aussie cons. He, like, stalks bookstores and sides things.
Yeah. I've watched him in a few interviews. He's a very funny man. Like, very dry sense of humour. And that definitely goes into his books a bit. I mean, his books aren't funny, but like when a character cracks a joke, he's very funny.
Which is sort of the humour that I like. I noticed I watched one of your recent videos, you're talking about going back into Terry Pratchett, and he's an author I'm very sorry I cannot get into. I just have never been able to get into it. But I tried reading Terry Pratchett and same with Douglas Adams, because of the humor element. I'm not funny. I'm a very serious person, and I don't really have a humorous bone. And my humor is that I like when something catches me off guard and it's very dry, it's very witty. I am willing to give Terry Pratchett another go now that I am like 15 years older than the first time that I tried it, because I hear so many good things about the thematics in it.
Yes. Oh, big times. Yeah.
And I was like, I love thematics. I don't love nonsense.
I would recommend the City Watch series in like within the Discord, because I think that's some of the most thematic stuff he does, and the humor is very like observing real life and kind of showing how preposterous and stupid it is. And because the City Watch kind of deals with the police force, he really goes into themes of like racism within police, corrupt systems and societies, but he does it in a way that is, yes, it's funny, but also it hits. It really, really hits. So I think the City Watch is probably to start with Guards, because that's the first City Watch books, and Captain Vimes, who's like the main character in it, is for me one of the greatest literary characters. In the
that's high praise.
He's just brilliant, and the journey he goes through all the books is something wonderful. It really is.
Okay. Well, I haven't ventured back into either Douglas Adams or.
But I mean, I understand why Pratchett and Adams don't work for some people. I completely get that, because I think humor in book is like writing funny books is very difficult, because to state the obvious, humor is very subjective. We all laugh at different things, so it's if the humor doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. But try Guards, and then Men at Arms afterwards. And if you're not doing it after that, then it's not for you.
Never say never, right? The whole concept of DNFing, and then all the book lovers are like, have I DNF'd it? Or am I just going to come back to it later when I have FOMO?
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it, Larry. Yeah, that's a great way of putting it.
Borderline nonsense.
Borderline nonsense, which makes I like that. I've not watched that, actually. I do need to watch it, because Going Postal is a fantastic book.
There are so many books in Discord, right?
There's a ridiculous amount,
30, 40 of them.
Yeah. So you've got to focus on like Like there's either standalones or there's little sub-series within it.
Sub-series, yeah.
Definitely. So what's your plans for your channel for the last month of the year?
It's all the planning for 2025. So we've got house guests here from, I think, the 11th or the 12th. So I've got to like pre-film everything, and then my parents are here in January. So the way I set out my channel is I try to, or I've brought it back to filming every fortnight, and I'll do 4 videos, and I'll get the 2 out a week. It just works better for what I'm able to do and putting that time aside. But I think, we're into the end of the year where we're going, what am I planning? Those booktube favorites, I love watching them. The 25 for 25, I'm not doing that one in particular, but what series I want to start, what series continuations. I just looked at how many series I'm in the middle of, and I made a video on that, filmed that today. It's like, oh, well, that's an embarrassing amount that I've finished 2 series this year. Snaps for Chris. Like,
I don't think I finished
everything.
a series at all this year. I've started lots, but I haven't finished them.
Well, that's it. That's pretty much it. Is all the planning content coming out, and a vlog, and the indie releases, and the month's over. What about you?
Well, funny enough, one of my videos.
Series.
Yeah. Funny enough, one of my videos coming up will be 7 trilogies that I need to finish in 2025 because I started them all this year.
Yeah.
So that's really one of the videos. 5 standalone SFF novels to put on your 2025 TBR.
I saw that you mentioned that in your last video. I was like, damn it, there's going to be more on my TBR.
Yeah, I think standalone novels are very important in between your, the big chunky series. So, and I'll probably do an end of year book haul, because I've not done a book haul forever. So that'll be a lot of my secondhand books as well as some broken binding stuff as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Beautiful broken binding editions. Is that the Jade City, Jade War, Jade Legacy? Yeah.
Yeah, they're gorgeous books.
The sprayed edges are so beautiful.
Very nice. Yeah, and I love the gold leaf effect.
The foiling. Yeah, there's some very pretty books.
Very, very, very pretty books. I'm liking their
down on the hidden shelves.
Yeah. That's the Dragonbone chair.
Jeff Brown's artwork has just
stunning, isn't it?
So good.
Yeah.
Over the last few years.
Look at that.
Yeah. You know what? I will say the broken binding for value for money makes some really good special edition. Like I was telling Luke earlier that I bought my first folio this year, and I'm pretty sure that cost me around 200, 250. I can't remember exactly what it was, but it's that Jaws edition that I've got up there with the sharks. And like that's the most money I've ever spent on a book. But broken binding for what you get, very reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm on their bi-monthly sci-fi one as well. So we've got the first book in the 3-body problem stuff. Again, that's Jeff. Stunning artwork.
I think it's going to turn into like the exclusive broken binding artist.
I think so. Yeah. He's the new darling, isn't he, of book covers, book illustrations.
Well, between Felix Ortiz and Jeff Brown, like when I think of cover artists that have the monopoly on the market, those are the two that come up.
They should have an art off.
I cannot afford them.
No.
What? Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Well, a millionaire author, it's not going to happen. But they're very revered.
I reckon Broken Binding should do like an art off. So you get Jeff and Ortiz doing a cover, and then we have to vote which one we want.
Auction.
Cool.
What a mad auction.
Yeah.
They're working with Katerina Bequeez. I can't pronounce her surname for a while, and she's probably one of my favorite cover designers as well. She's very, very good. She did the Advent of Winter, the cover for
it's a gorgeous cover. That
beautiful cover. Yeah, I just love art. I've recently gotten my cover art concept for my book, so I sent that off. I've got the concept come through, and I was just like mind blown at how they can take word vomit and turn it into something that like people will go, oh, I'll buy that book. That looks cool. And
Yeah.
I was like, I have no idea how you pulled that from the shit, the pile of poo that I gave you. To pull a cover out of, and you give me that. It's wild to me that artists can do that.
Yeah,
Like it's
it
just a
is
skill I don't
incredible.
have. I'm so fascinated by it.
Yeah, I mean, my partner Mel, who's done some work for you actually. Yeah,
Yes, they'll be
she's
changing. My little picture will be changing in the new year.
yeah.
Done by
So
Mel.
yeah, how she does it is just it's an incredible gift. It really is. And Lamia has the gift of writing and art, so she's got it both because she's done all the
Sure.
maps and all the artwork for her book as well.
Okay, cartography really like if you can draw a map, that's so cool. I can't picture where anything is happening. I don't even look at maps in fantasy books. Like I don't flip back because I'm like, I have no concept
Oh God, I do all the
where
time.
we
I'm
are.
terrible for it.
But if you can draw a map and like visualize your world in your head, that is so cool.
It is very
Like
cool.
bow down to the people that can do that. I've got one location in my book purely because
What? Why do you hate yourself?
no,
You're so
hate
talented.
yourself. That's
Why don't
amazing.
do that?
And I mean,
Oh,
at least that way, it's like all yours. Like that is your world through and through, right? You've
yeah,
created that map. You've created it. It's a complete picture, and that's all yours, which is
yeah.
sick.
It is amazing, isn't it? It's incredible. It is incredible. Anything else? Anything you've got on your mind that you want to get off your chest?
Nah, man. Like I'm good. Life is good. Writing's good. Booktube's good.
Yeah, everything's good.
X drama not good. But it's there all the time, so you just can't escape it.
TBR's not good.
It is. TBR's crumbling under immense pressure. It's fine.
Yeah.
I just need to retire yesterday, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I probably find other things to distract myself.
I need to win the lottery or something so I can just literally spend my days reading.
Yeah. You know,
not
when they
have to
say
worry
that,
about.
I
Not
wouldn't
have to
tell
worry
anyone
about
I won the
income.
lotto, but yeah, there'd be signs. It's just bibliophiles with libraries. mass libraries. Yeah.
I think that's a good place to
I think
stop.
that's what a great episode.
Yeah, what a fantastic
What
episode.
an amazing episode. Sorry about everyone's TBRs. Not really.
Yeah,
You all
no,
do it to me.
never
So-
sorry. Hashtag sorry, not sorry.
Hashtag sorry, not sorry. Luke smacked his mic. That's good time.
I think on every Creators Collective, I'm gonna have to smack my mic at some point as a tradition.
Just don't plan it. Just
Yeah, it'll just happen.
little tap,
It'll just happen. Yeah. Oh, Chris, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a really fun hour and a bit. It really has.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for chatting. It's always good to jump on and just have a chat.
Exactly. That's what it is. And if anyone's with us, thank you, Lamia, and thank you, Esme, for listening to us ramble. Yeah,
and confession from the audience.
Good. I mean, love listening and very happy I was off for it. When's the next
good
one?
question. When's the next one?
It is this Thursday, I think. I'm basically just treating everyone to 2 Creators Collective and 2 authors behind the page. Yeah, so Thursday, and this one will be in the evening at 7 o'clock with Shells from Not So Secret Bookaholic. She'll be joining me. She'll be joining me at 7 o'clock on Thursday for another Creators Collective. And then the week after, I have Adrian N. Gibson, author of Mushroom Blues, and he'll be joining me on the Monday at 8 o'clock UK time, 8 p.m. UK time. We'll be chatting his book Mushroom Blues and lots of other things that come into our mind. So yeah, that's all the lives I've got planned for December, and then it will just be recorded via to take us up to the end of the year.
That's cool. Well, congratulations on the new series coming through. I hope you're having a blast with them.
Yeah, really having a blast, and I've already got some 2025 people booked in. I'm going to keep it on the hush hush until probably the end of the year. I'll do some announcements, but some really exciting guests coming on, booktubers and authors. So yeah, really looking forward to it. All right then, Chris, thank you very much. Enjoy your evening. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan, for joining us. That was let's put him up a second. That's a great chat, guys.
Hey, Ryan.
Watching, listening. More of this, please, and more sci-fi chat. That's always good. Absolutely, I completely agree. Definitely. Yeah. So Thursday, 7 p.m. UK time, I'll be talking to Shells. So if you can join us there, that'd be great. I'm going to sign off now. Thank you very much, Chris. Thank you, Lamia and Ryan, for sticking around. And We shall see you next time on the Creators Collective. See you later, guys.
See you, team. Ciao.
Ooh.